Hey, what's up, all my witches and wizards out there? I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and I'm coming back at you again with another Owl House episode review. This time it's Season 1's Episode 17, titled Wing It Like Witches. Based off the romantic comedy Bend It Like Beckham? Huh, very interesting, and nobody's gonna get that reference, honestly. Where we see, well, we actually get to have Basha just show off for the most part. Yes, apparently she is a star athlete, specifically in the game of Grubby Ball. And she is popular, like, all over town. She's just really, I guess, that good at playing Grubby Ball. And it is something else to behold. And so she ends up arriving at school, meeting up with her posse and team, complete with Skara, which who we don't actually see play. She's just included in everything, but that's about it. It's kind of weird how she's not really involved with anything. But, she enters and expects to be, praised for being the star player, only for everyone to actually be hanging out with Willow because, well, people are actually kind of liking what Willow's able to do with her magic. They're actually pretty impressed. Although, of course, Basha and her clique comes in to demean her for the most part. Only for Amity to actually come in and defend Willow and basically break all ties with Basha when she actually uses her venomous tongue for good this time around, with all the other kids kind of laughing at her because of this. And Basha, no, she will not take this change in the social hierarchy. So when Luz arrives to, celebrate the Grudgeby Ball Day, we actually have come to learn that Ida was actually a big Grudgeby Ball player back in the past, although that's mostly through cheating and deceptive tactics. But when Luz ends up leaving, Ida is determined to kind of relive her glory days, much to King's lack of interest for the most part. But Luz has actually been watching Azora movies about playing, games and ball games and being the underdog and all this and that. So she's very much in the grudgy ball mood. Um, However, when Willow ends up being asked the question, she actually manages to get the answer correct, with everybody kind of cheering her on. Yeah, everybody's caught Willow fever, and she puts it towards the newfound confidence she's had because she's made up with Amity. She was able to put a lot of her past doubts and feelings in the past, now knowing that, the reasoning behind Amity not wanting to be friends with her anymore wasn't because Amity didn't feel she was a good witch, and that did a lot to bolster Willow's self-confidence. So I like that, keeping in line with continuity. But Basha continues to try to poke and prod at Willow in order to maintain the social hierarchy. And while Gus manages to get Willow's hair clip back, Basha spends the rest of the day just completely dunking and demeaning Willow and her friends. But when Luz goes to ask Amity how to deal with this, Willow isn't sure, as ultimately Basha only speaks one language, and that is Rugby Ball. So with one more slight against Willow, Luz loses it and decides to challenge Basha to a Rugby Ball match. Well, has challenges Basha on Willow's behalf, basically, like she's Willow's mouthpiece. Meanwhile, Ida is going through all of her past rugby ball, fun time, this and that, rugby ball. And we get to see that apparently she was a star player, and oh my god, I love little Ida with her fiery orange hair. Apparently, she had a very close friend, and you even get to see a little bit of Lilith in the background of that one picture where, apparently Lilith wasn't too big on one of the friends that Edith had made, or she wasn't much for taking pictures. But Edith even shows off her box of tricks, her box of cheats, as it were. All the little deceptive goodies that she had for just completely dominating the Grudgeby Ball field. However, Hootie manages to find Lilith skulking around in the forest next to them, having finally managed to find the Owl House here to basically arrest Edith on behalf of the Emperor's Coven. However, when she spots what Ida has been reading about their past of Grudgeby Ball, Ida mentions how she was the star player, only for Lilith to reveal that Ida's memory is a little shaky, as it was actually Lilith who was the star player, with Lilith's appearance being very reminiscent of the person who cursed Ida, but that doesn't make any sense why Lilith would actually curse her own sister. But honestly, I would love to find out, is Ida's hair changed because of the curse? And why is um Lilith's hair black now? Did she dye it? Is that something that she does now? Very interesting. But, Lilith, decides to challenge Lilith to Grudgeby Ball with a winner take all. Should Ida win, Lilith has to go away. Should Lilith win, she will go along with her and join the Emperor's Coven. And so the two sisters will show down. And speaking of which, we have the showdown with Luz and Basha, which Willow tries very much to get out of. But Luz says that if they win, Basha and her crew will leave Willow alone, and if Basha wins, Luz and will become target practice for her and her team. But Amity isn't quite sure of Luz's decision because ultimately Basha is just far too good, and she doesn't know if Luz and the rest of the crew will even stand a chance. But Luz gives a nice inspirational speech saying about, underdogs usually can come out on top if they just give it a try. And while Gus and Willow are in, Amity kind of freaks out at the idea of being on a team with Luz because crush, gay, all that good stuff. And, she leaves. Well, Gus and Willow explain Grudgeby Ball to Luz about how it's basically just scoring goals, with the difference being that there's a lot of magic on the field, so you gotta avoid all these magical attacks going on all around in order to make your way to the goal. So it's kind of like basketball, but with a twist. And while Luz explains what a montage is to Gus and Willow. And, while they end up getting into actual training, Luz tries one of the moves from the Azora movie, namely the Thorn Vault. But ultimately, it really just does not work out for Gus and Willow. And Willow tells Luz that ultimately they weren't ready for something like this and they're just going to end up losing. Meanwhile, the showdown between Lilith and Ida is underway, and they begin the match. As Amity goes and talks to Luz about what happened, with Luz ultimately feeling bad that she pressured Willow into doing this. It was just that she didn't feel good about having Willow be picked on continuously when she really didn't deserve it because she is a good witch. It's not, like the demeaning way that people talk to her just doesn't make any sense to Luz, and she feels that it's unfounded and unfair. But Amity explains that she was originally the captain of the Grudgeby Ball team, and it was after attempting the Thorn Vault herself, while she did end up winning, it was a last-ditch move, and it resulted in her own team being injured, and so she quit Grudgeby Ball and never looked back. And with this story of how, just doing things for the good of your friends without really consulting them really kind of sticks with Luz, and she decides that she will forfeit the match to Basha and take Willow's place as Basha's punching bag, which Basha is all too willing to oblige. But Amity goes over to Willow and lets her know how much Luz needs their help and all that she was willing to do for Willow. Meanwhile, the game between Lilith and Ida is underway, and they end up tying, with Hootie acting as the obstacles in the game. And Ida decides she'll, pull out her bag of tricks in order to get one over on her sister, only for Luz to have completely cleaned it out, thinking it was dirty. So Ida tries the old fashioned way and actually does manage to score against her sister, who's devastated because she can't go back to the Emperor empty handed. So Ida gives Lilith one of her rings in order for Lilith to tell the Emperor that her sister put up one hell of a fight. And while this does help her momentarily, Lilith says that she will be back in order and with reinforcements next time they meet. Meanwhile, Willow stands in the way of Basha getting, basically killing Luz to a certain degree, and with Amity even decided to side with them as well, deciding that they will play against Basha as a team. And while Basha says that this will destroy Amity's social standing, Amity feels that she's made the right choice in choosing friendship over being a bully, basically. And so the game is on, and with the power of teamwork, and some nice little compliments to the other team when they do score, with Luz just showing good sportsmanship. Luz even actually manages to block one of Basha's attacks with her ice magic, and she notices the fire glyph on one of the balls that Basha had sent out their way. And with that, Luz is able to learn fire magic. Yes! How cool is that? I remember someone saying it's just like, when the glyphs things were, coming out, it's just like, I wonder how Luz is going to learn it. How is she going to manage to learn fire magic? But, of course, fire magic would leave some kind of residue, some ash behind on the thing that it's cast on. So, very nice, very cool. And just like the game between Ida and Lilith, they tie things up, with ultimately Willow deciding that they'll try the Thorn Vault for a last ditch play. And so they manage to get one over on the enemy team, scoring a goal. And while it looks like a win in the end, suddenly there's an instant win for Bosch's team because they captured the Rusty Smidge, very similar to the Golden Snitch. And Luz even calls out how it's just like, no, that shouldn't even be in effect. What's the point of the rest of the game if ultimately you could just capture that and end the whole game itself? Which I love this call out. Quidditch always made me question that. What's the point of the rest of the game if you could just capture the snitch and be done with it? Like, seriously. But, there's actually no hard feelings with the other team, who are actually very impressed with Willow's playing, even asking her to be on the team. But to spare Bosch's feelings, Willow declines. Meanwhile, we actually see that Amity either sprained or broke her leg in the process of the game, and she's kind of down for the count. So Luz just scoops her up, and we have this cute little moment between them. And Gus asks for another montage where they just have a little bit of fun after school playing some grudgeby, some non-violent grudgeby. And Gus even goes so far as to magically change the score, making them the ultimate victors. They then head back to the Owl House. We get to see King in his little cheerleader outfit, which Luz is definitely not filming. And Amity even arrives just in time for tea, with this nice little departing moment, which immediately makes me feel like the next episode is going to have something heartbreaking. But What a fun episode. It was very nice. It was great to see Amity just be kind and just helpful, and I'm just loving the relationship going on here. I love that Willow is starting to come into her own and become a better person. You know, over the course of things, it's really something to see, and I'm loving all of this. But, it just makes me feel it's just like we have, you know, 2 episodes left, I think. So it's just like, okay, this is the beginning of the end. With such a sweet moment, next episode has to have something that really raises the stakes. What will happen in the last 2 episodes of The Owl House? I hope you'll join me as I find out. But tell me your feelings and thoughts and theories on this episode in the comment section below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you hate the sportsma games? And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din. Like, subscribe, bell, whatever you feel. And until then, I'll see you later. Bye bye.